Hello everyone, I'm Nancy Gracious. It's every parent's worst nightmare. You're returning home from a family trip and suddenly you discover that the child you thought was with you is not there. It happened to a couple, Mary and Joseph of Galilee, as they returned home from the Passover feast in Jerusalem. They were unavailable for comment, but we do have as our guest today an uncle who was traveling with them. Please welcome Benjamin Gaza.
Thank you for having me, and please, call me Benny!
Benny, help me out with this. We're talking about two parents, Mary and Joseph, and their 12-year-old son, Jesus. That's a pretty small traveling group. How do you misplace a child? A 12-year-old, for that matter.
Well, Nancy, when going to the feast in Jerusalem, we traveled in a large group, or caravan, if you will. There was always a danger of bandits along the way, so no one traveled alone. Our caravan was made up of many friends and family from Galilee. So as we began our journey back home to Galilee, of course, Mary and Joseph thought that Jesus was somewhere in the crowd.
And when did they first notice that Jesus was missing?
When we made camp that first night, Mary and Joseph looked everywhere, but they couldn't find Jesus.
What was their reaction?
As you can imagine, they became quite upset. I heard Joseph say to Mary, "I was packing the donkey. I thought you had him." They left the next morning to go back to Jerusalem and found Jesus on the third day.
You mean to tell me that it took 3 days to find him? I mean, really?
Well, not exactly. You see,
We have a caller that would like to say something about the fact that it took them 3 days to find Jesus. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, Nancy. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I love the show you did a while back about Jacob and Esau. What was it called again?
2 wrongs don't make a birthright.
That's it. Listen, if it took them 3 days to find him, he must have been scared to death. A 12-year-old kid alone on the streets in a strange town?
well, first of all, when you say 3 days, you have to take into account that we had already traveled back towards Galilee on the first day. It took all the second day to get back to Jerusalem, and Jesus was found on the third day.
Yeah, alone and probably traumatized for life.
Traumatized for life. Which brings us to our next guest, child development specialist and author of the book, How Do You Misplace the Messiah? Doctor, I'm a Hypocrite. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy, and it's Dr. Hippocriti.
Dr. Hypocrite, a 12-year-old left behind by his parents in a strange town. What effect could that have on the child?
There are a number of ways an experience like that can affect a child, especially later in life. If left untreated, this child could develop into a follower, not a leader, and would go through life not being able to accomplish anything that will impact the lives of others. And it's Dr. Hippocriti.
You sound pretty sure of yourself, Dr. Hypocrite.
Well, my name, which is Dr. Hippocrates, and the reputation speak for themselves. But I want to hear from the uncle. How traumatized was the boy by the time his parents found him? They probably found him hiding in some back alley, didn't they?
Actually, they found Jesus at the temple courtyard.
You'll see, they found him at some rundown hotel, scared and all alone. It'll take years of therapy to help this boy.
No, the temple courtyard, as in God's house. And he wasn't scared and alone, he was with the teachers.
Well, what did Mary and Joseph say to Jesus when they found him?
Mary said to Jesus, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." And Jesus replied, "Why were you searching for me? Didn't you know that it'd be in my father's house?"
Wait, are you telling me that Jesus ditched his own parents?
No. Try to look at it this way. Jesus was at the temple with the leaders to seek knowledge. He was a 12-year-old boy that was so focused on discussing and learning the scriptures that he didn't realize the caravan had left without him. Perhaps he believed his parents wouldn't have gone home without him, that they must still be in Jerusalem. He might have thought that if they were looking for him, maybe he should stay put where they could find him. And he innocently felt that they should know where to find him. In the temple, in his father's house.
Well, even though he is the Messiah, if he were my kid, he'd have a timeout coming.
This boy of 12 was both listening and asking some very insightful questions that showed, even at his young age, that he knew the importance of gaining knowledge. And since God knows everything, it's important to know what God says. That's all Jesus was doing.
Well, that certainly changes my perspective on the whole story. Benjamin Gaza, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Nancy. Moshugana.
Please join us next time when we will be looking at the story of David and Goliath with the author of the book, Why Didn't Goliath Duck? Good night, everyone.